At my brother's engagement dinner, I pulled out a card, fully paid photographer, venue deposit, and $5,000 to get started. His fiancée smiled, then whispered loud enough for the table. Wow. He's really trying to matter again. I slipped the card back into my coat, stood up, and said, "Let me try less." 10 minutes later, the venue called her directly. Date cancelled. Deposit gone. Just like their rent. I just handed them a gold envelope. Inside was everything: a fully paid wedding photographer, one of the best in the state, confirmation of the venue deposit for a place Riley had practically drooled over on Instagram, and a personal check from me for $5,000. Not alone. A gift. Tyler took it first and just sort of blinked, like it hadn't registered. Then he passed it to her like it was mail he didn't ask for. She pulled everything out, skimmed through the receipts, and held up the check. "Wow," she said, holding it between two fingers like it was a used napkin. "He's really trying to matter again." Nobody at the table laughed. But nobody said anything either. Not my parents, who hadn't worked in years because I pay all their bills every month, including the second mortgage they quietly added when Tyler needed help starting his supplement business that died after 6 weeks. Not Tyler, who once called me at 3 a.m. crying after he'd maxed out his last credit card on equipment for a podcast that never aired a single episode. Not even Riley's parents, who were sitting across the table, smiling like the moment hadn't even happened. I reached over, took the envelope out of her hand, and slid it back into my coat pocket. "Let me try less," I said. Then I got up and left. I didn't make a scene. I didn't throw a fit. I walked out of that restaurant like I was leaving a dentist appointment. Calm. Quiet. Done. In the car, I just sat for a bit, watching my phone buzz. 1 missed call. Then 2. Then a message from the venue confirming the cancellation and reminding me the deposit was non-refundable. Good. I didn't expect the fallout to be instant. I knew them well enough to know that Tyler would still be smiling, trying to shrug it off. Riley would be fuming, already texting someone about how I freaked out over a joke. My mom would be whispering something about how I've always been sensitive. My dad would be checking the bill to make sure no one ordered anything extra before I left. But I also knew something they didn't. I was done. They'd crossed a line that had been years in the making. It didn't start with the envelope. It started when I was 16 and got into my first choice college, and my mom told me not to rub it in because Tyler hadn't even applied. It continued when I started my business, and they said it was risky, but then sent me Tyler's resume a year later. It was a million little slights, digs, and silent moments where I was useful, but never seen. They'd think I was being dramatic. They always do. They'd realize what it meant when the rent didn't get paid next month, when the gas bill went overdue, when the phone calls started going to voicemail, when my mom's card got declined at the grocery store and the bank told her the automatic transfers had stopped. That card I took back? It wasn't just a gift. It was a warning. And they didn't listen. The first 2 days after the dinner were quiet. Too quiet, really. I didn't hear from my parents, from Tyler, not even a sarcastic emoji from Riley. It was like they all decided to go into radio silence at the same time, which only meant one thing: they were talking to each other, just not to me. I didn't mind. For the first time in what felt like years, I wasn't calculating how to fix someone else's mess. I wasn't budgeting someone else's bills or reading passive-aggressive texts asking for small favors. I worked, I slept, I worked again. Ordered Thai twice. It was almost peaceful. Then came day 3. I answered the unknown number out of reflex. It was my mom. She didn't ask how I was. Didn't start with anything resembling an apology. Just launched into it. "Why would you cancel the venue? You knew how much Riley loved it." I said. "She made it clear she didn't love anything I did." She went quiet for a second. Then, like clockwork, "You didn't have to take it so personally. It was just a comment." She was joking. I asked her if she laughed. She didn't answer. I asked if Tyler laughed. Still nothing. I said, "You all sat there and watched her take a shot at me after I gave them something none of you could afford, and not one of you said a word." She said, "John, you're punishing everyone over one moment." That pissed me off more than Riley's comment ever could. So I said it. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm stepping away from people who only value me when I'm handing out cash." She said, "That's not true." I said, When's the last time you called me just to talk? She didn't even try to come up with a date. She just said, "We're your family. We always thought you knew we were proud of you." I hung up. I didn't even feel guilty about it. I felt clean. 2 days later, Tyler texted, "You really canceled the venue over some dumb drama? Whatever. We'll figure it out without you. Don't bother coming." I stared at that message for a good minute. No apology. No explanation. Just the same entitlement I'd seen from him since we were kids. Like I was the one ruining something instead of refusing to keep pretending. I didn't reply. Then I started hearing things. My mom posted some cryptic status on Facebook about disappointments coming from the most unexpected places. My aunt texted me asking what happened and why I wasn't going to the wedding. I told her to ask my parents. She said, "They said you refused to help because you don't like Riley." And there it was. The version of the story they were running with. That I had bailed on my own brother's wedding out of spite. That I was jealous. That I didn't approve of the woman he loved. Not that I'd been insulted at a dinner after offering a gift worth more than their entire wedding budget. Not that they let it happen. Not that they watched. I started pulling back even more. Cut the auto transfers to my parents. Canceled the Amex card they used for groceries. Removed myself from the family phone plan. No explanation. No warning. Just gone. They didn't call right away. Pride, I guess. But eventually the silence broke. My dad left a voicemail. I didn't pick up. I listened to it though. "You've made your point, John. I hope you're happy. You ruined the wedding and humiliated us. You abandoned your family over a little comment. You're acting like a traitor to your own blood." That word, traitor, stuck with me. He said it like I'd switched sides in a war. But I hadn't chosen sides. I just stopped playing the game. The wedding happened a week later. Backyard ceremony. Folding chairs. My parents' garage cleared out to make room for a rented dance floor. I saw it all on Facebook. They looked happy. Smiling. My seat was empty. Not one word from anyone. Except Riley's father. 2 days after the wedding, I got a text from him. "John, I don't know what really happened, but I saw your envelope at dinner. I saw what was in it. Just wanted you to know some of us noticed. Hope you're doing okay." I stared at that message for a long time. Because it meant that, out of everyone, the one person who owed me nothing was the only one who actually saw me. It didn't take long. About 2 weeks after the wedding, my mom called again. This time, it was about the electric bill. She said it had tripled and asked if I could just cover it this month. I told her I had removed all automatic payments. She paused, probably hoping I was bluffing. Then she asked me why I was doing this. I reminded her they called me a traitor. She told me that was just your father being emotional. I told her I wasn't interested in how emotional anyone was unless they were finally apologizing. She sighed and said something about pride and forgiveness and how families go through things. I told her forgiveness requires accountability. Then I hung up. Next came Tyler. He texted me a screenshot of his bank account. Negative $23.47. No context, just the screenshot. A few hours later, another message. "Can you spot me for rent? Riley's boutique is slow this month and our landlord's on our ass. I'll pay you back." That made me laugh. Tyler has never paid me back for anything. Not the car. Not the laptop. Not the emergency flights. Nothing. I used to tell myself it didn't matter, that I was helping my brother get on his feet. I just never realized he never planned to stand on them. I didn't reply. A few days later, my parents showed up at my apartment. I live in a secure building, so they had to wait outside and call from the buzzer. I watched them from my window for a minute before answering. I let them in. Part of me wanted to see how far they were willing to go. My dad did most of the talking. Told me they were worried about Tyler. That he was struggling. That Riley had taken on debt for the wedding and they were barely holding it together. I asked how any of that was my responsibility. My mom said, "Because we're your family." That line again. I asked them, "What does that mean when being family only works one way?" They looked at me like I was speaking another language. I said I didn't mind helping before. I really didn't. I'd paid for things without complaint. But once they made it clear that my presence, my respect, meant less than keeping Riley happy, well, that changed the math. Then my dad said something that caught me off guard. He said, "We told Riley's family that you were struggling with mental health issues. That's why you weren't at the wedding. We had to say something." I just blinked at him. I didn't even ask why. I already knew. They needed a story that made them look innocent. She said it would be better if people didn't know what really happened. My mom added, like it was a favor to me. "You know how people talk." That was it for me. I told them to leave. As they got up, my mom said, "You're going to regret cutting off your family." I said, "I'm not cutting off my family. I'm cutting off the people who betrayed me. If you find any family still left under that, let me know." After they left, I sat down and tried to feel something. Anger maybe? Grief. But there was nothing. Just a strange kind of relief. That weekend, Riley's father called me. Not a text. A full call. He said, "I heard what they told people. About your mental health. I'm sorry." I thanked him. He said, "You didn't deserve that. I don't know you well, John, but I can see you were trying to do something generous. They twisted that. Riley included." Then he said, "You're not the bad guy in this story. Don't let them rewrite it that way." I didn't say much, but those words stayed with me. They still try, by the way. The messages. The missed calls. Tyler asking for help. My parents trying to talk things out. But the truth is, once you see people clearly, you can't unsee them. By week 4, the calls had slowed, but the manipulation picked up in other forms. My dad emailed me a spreadsheet titled, "Family Budget Breakdown." It had all their expenses listed, complete with dates, totals, and a column labeled, "John," next to every overdue bill. I didn't respond. Then Tyler emailed me something else. A PDF titled, "Business Proposal." It was a sloppy pitch for a fitness app. He wanted me to invest $15,000 for a 30% stake. Said it would repair the trust between us and help him build something real. I skimmed through it. It was mostly buzzwords, stolen screenshots from other apps, and a vague claim that Riley would handle branding. What got me wasn't the desperation. It was the fact that he called it trust. Like me funding another dead idea was what trust meant in our family. That week, I was at a late meeting with a client when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I ignored it. Then another. Then a message popped up. From unknown. Subject, "Thought you should know." Attached was a photo. Grainy, clearly taken with a phone from behind a window. It was Tyler. Standing in my parents' driveway. Arguing with someone. Based on the angle, it looked like Riley's mom. His hands were thrown up. She was pointing at him. In the background, you could see the backyard tent from the wedding, half collapsed and still sitting there weeks later. No caption. No explanation. Another message followed 10 minutes later. "He's burning bridges too fast. Your silence is louder than their noise. Watch closely." No name. I don't know why, but it unsettled me. Not in a scared way. More like someone else had been paying attention this whole time. That weekend, I ran into Riley's younger sister, Emily, at the grocery store. She'd always been the quiet one. Smarter than the rest of them, and not afraid to show it. She stopped me in the frozen aisle and said, "They're falling apart without your money. Tyler and Riley are fighting daily. Your parents are acting like victims, but no one's buying it." I asked her what made her tell me. She said, "Because I watched what happened at dinner. I saw you walk out. I saw her smirk. And I saw how your parents just sat there. That was messed up." Then she said something that stuck. "People don't forget who stays quiet. Or who walks away with dignity." It wasn't much, but it gave me a strange kind of closure. Not because I wanted Riley's family to like me, but because it confirmed what I already suspected. People were starting to see the truth. And that's when the really strange thing happened. I got a notification on LinkedIn. A profile visit. Riley. It was the first digital fingerprint she'd left directly since the dinner. No message. Just a view. The next day, Tyler texted me again. "Riley's talking about moving out. Says I've changed. We're drowning here, man. I know you're mad, but don't let this destroy everything." Everything? What exactly was he trying to preserve? The next day, my mom messaged me a photo of her and my dad at a diner with the caption, "Miss you. Wish you were here. It's not the same without you." But I'd seen the timestamp on the photo. It wasn't from that day. It was from months ago. They were recycling moments now, pretending everything was still intact. But it wasn't. And I wasn't coming back. Not this time. It was mid-April when Tyler showed up at my office. I hadn't seen him in person since the engagement dinner. He looked thinner, less put together. Hoodie, basketball shorts, flip-flops. No appointment, just walked into the lobby and asked for me by name. My assistant buzzed my line and said, "There's a guy here, says he's your brother?" I told her to send him up. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe part of me still hoped he'd show up with a real apology. Or at least with some self-awareness. He didn't. He slouched into my office, flopped into a chair, and before he said a word, he pulled out his phone and showed me a picture of their apartment. Or what used to be their apartment. Most of the furniture was gone. A few boxes on the floor. Riley's vanity overturned in the background. "She left," he said. "Packed up last night. Went to her parents' place. Said I was a loser and that you poisoned everyone against us." I didn't say anything. He just kept going. "She took the dog, man. I didn't even know they had a dog." Then he hit me with it. "You win, okay? You got what you wanted. Everyone sees I'm nothing without you." I almost laughed. Like this was a competition. Like I'd been gunning for some twisted moment of satisfaction. I told him I hadn't won anything, I just stopped fixing everything he broke. That's when he got angry. Started pacing. Said I was being cold. Said he was my brother. That I used to be different. I asked him, "When was the last time you cared about me that didn't involve money?" He didn't answer. So I kept going. "Was it when you asked me to cover your tuition but forgot my birthday that year? Or when you needed help with rent but never called to see how I was doing when I worked through Christmas? Or was it the dinner, where I gave you a gift most people would cry over, and your fiancé humiliated me in front of everyone?" He sat down quiet. Then, softer, he said, "Mom and Dad are losing it. They said they might have to sell the house." I nodded. "They said you'd never let that happen." I didn't respond. He looked at me for a long time. Then said, "You really gonna let them lose everything?" I said, "They already did." He left without saying goodbye. That night my mom called. I didn't answer. A few minutes later, she sent me a photo of my childhood bedroom, empty, stripped of everything. Under it the message, "We'll be out by the end of the month. Hope you're happy." That one hit harder than I expected. Not because they were moving, but because they still thought this was about revenge. I opened a bottle of wine, sat down, and stared at that photo. They weren't losing the house because of me. They were losing the house because they spent years counting on someone they refused to respect. And now the math finally caught up to them. I got another email that night. Subject line, "They're spiraling." No message. Just another photo. This time, it was Riley. In a parking lot. Arguing with her mom. Different location, different day. Whoever was sending these wasn't just watching, they were close. I clicked reply. Typed just one word. "Who?" No response. Not yet. It took 4 days to get a reply. The email came late, past midnight. No subject line this time. Just a single sentence. "I saw what they did to you. And I knew no one else was going to hold them accountable." Still no name. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Not because I was scared, but because it felt like a confirmation. That someone else, somewhere in the mess of it all, had been watching closely enough to understand. I didn't know who they were. Maybe a friend of Riley's family. Maybe someone who'd worked the wedding. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The damage had already been done. A week later, I found out my parents had moved into a rental 30 minutes away. Smaller house, no yard, definitely no guest room. My dad had taken a part-time job at a hardware store. My mom had picked up bookkeeping for a friend's cleaning company. For the first time in years, they were working again. Tyler moved back in with them. Riley had officially left him. I saw it on social media. New last name gone, photos wiped, new boyfriend tagged in a story where she was laughing at a rooftop bar. I didn't feel bad for him. Not anymore. He tried calling again. Left a voicemail that started with, "I know I messed up," and ended with, "But I'm still your brother." I deleted it. Then came the final act. Riley's family hosted a dinner. Not a party, Just a quiet, small thing. Apparently to smooth things over. They invited my parents and Tyler. I wasn't invited. But Emily sent me a message anyway. Just so you know, they're still trying to make you look bad. But my dad shut it down. Told them flat out that what happened at the engagement dinner was disgusting. Said they embarrassed themselves, not you. Mom agreed. Tyler walked out. She added, "You're not the villain. We all saw who was." That message? That was everything. Because it meant that even if I had lost my own family, I hadn't lost the truth. A week after that, my mom called again. Her number popped up and I stared at it for a while before declining. Then she sent a text. "Your father's health is declining. We're not asking for money. Just don't let this be permanent." I didn't respond. Because I had tried, for years, to make it temporary. To be the bigger person. To be the fixer. The wallet. The safe option. They chose to mock me when I offered them everything. They stood behind Riley. Then they stood behind Tyler. Then they stood behind each other. But never once behind me. Now, all that remained was the silence they earned. And for once, it was finally enough. I still work too much. Still haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. But I'm calmer. Quieter. My phone buzzes less. No one's asking for favors. I've started seeing someone. She knows the story. Every detail. She said, "It sounds like you lost something big." I told her, "No. I stopped feeding something small." She smiled. And for the first time in a long time, I did too. Hey again. It's been a bit since I posted the story about what happened with my brother, Riley, and the whole mess around their wedding. I figured things had settled, and honestly they had. But then something strange happened last week. I got a check in the mail. No return address. No note. Just a plain envelope, one of those cheap off-white ones you get in bulk. Inside, a cashier's check made out to me for $8,200. Exactly. At first I thought it was a scam. Or a mistake. I've had clients pay me weirdly before, but never like this. I didn't recognize the handwriting on the envelope either. Looked rushed, all caps. I almost tossed it. But then I noticed the weird number, 8,200. Not 8,000. Not 8,500. Specific. Too specific to be random. So I started thinking. That's when I remembered the wedding venue. The deposit I put down? It was $5,000. The photographer was $2,000. The extra $1,200? That was part of the check I gave them for whatever you need to get started. They'd never paid me back. No one ever even acknowledged that I took it back. Not once. So either someone was trying to clear their conscience, or someone else decided to make it right. There was no bank info. No trace. I called the bank listed on the check and asked where it came from. They said it was purchased in cash at a local branch. That's all they could tell me. I don't think it was Tyler. If he had that kind of money, I'd have gotten 10 new texts by now begging for more. I don't think it was my parents either. They're still renting, still scraping. And I haven't heard from them in weeks. But I have a guess. Emily. She hasn't said anything. I didn't reach out. But she was the only one who knew every detail. The only one who saw the receipts. The only one who messaged me the night of the dinner to say, "They're falling apart without your money." She would have known exactly how much I lost. I'm not cashing the check. Not yet. It's in a drawer. Because this isn't about the money. Not anymore. It's about the fact that someone, somewhere, decided I deserved to get something back. Even if it was too late for the people who should have done it first.